So welcome once more. Welcome everybody. I know you've traveled a long way, some of you, and we're really, really grateful that you've traveled such a long way to Luxembourg. Hopefully the jet lag isn't too hard. Thank you very much for traveling from Korea, for example, and many other places too. Some people have traveled from nearer, not so far away, because Luxembourg has put itself on the map as a place, and we are here in Luxembourg for the 7th edition already of Space Resources Week. It's a multidisciplinary event where we bring together players from science, technology, finance, the economic, the legal and regulatory aspects. All of these will be discussed here with experts from across Europe and across the world in the next 3 days. I'm Lisa Burke, and it is really my honor to be with you once more and to get to know many of you through the course of the years. As I said to a couple of you, it feels like one big family, and one gentleman just said to me, it's so small here, you get to know each other really in quite a familial way. Our vision here is a shared one. We hope to work together towards a sustainable and responsible use of space resources for our future in space and, of course, back here on Earth. And in this edition of Space Resources Week, we're going to focus on near-term priorities with a view to thinking through and building out clear steps to map out the near-future architecture. Not that this ambition is easy to accomplish in a world which is rather fractious and unpredictable at present, but at least we are here to help build that shared vision. And welcome to those who are joining us online. You'll be able to watch everything that happens here in the plenary room. Through the course of the next few days, there are some parallel sessions of equal interest, so there'll be plenary sessions and sessions taking place in the delegates room here in the conference center. But without further ado, it is a great honor to welcome to the stage Lex Dallas, who is Minister of the Economy here in Luxembourg.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome hi to Luxembourg. I think for some of you it's the 7th time that you are here in Luxembourg, and we are very happy to have this 7th edition of the Space Resources Week here in Luxembourg. And Ms. Burke, you just mentioned it. It's like friends who are meeting, because it's important, speaking about space resources, speaking about the space sector, that people can meet, that people can exchange. And that's why I'm very happy that we have the Korean space agency over here, the Canadian space agency, ESA over here, that we have UNOSA with us today. It's important, just especially in these geopolitical critical times, that we exchange on different levels. For Luxembourg, it was always important to exchange with our partners worldwide. That's why in 2016 we launched the first idea of space resources worldwide together with other countries. It was a Luxembourgish idea, but not only. It was an idea with a lot of other companies, a lot of other space agencies, that we spoke together and we thought about what will be the future. What will be the future in innovative ways? What will be the future by exchanging? And 2 weeks ago, I was in Spain, speaking also together with the Spanish space agency, and we saw that we have common interests, and we saw that we have to exchange more. In 2020, we launched ESRIC together with ESA, and we prolonged it for 5 more years just to work together on an ESRIC program. So we see that cooperation is very important for Luxembourg. And one thing that's also important, that we see that it doesn't matter who will be at the government. So we have a new government here in Luxembourg since 1.5 years or 2 years. But some key projects, such as space resources, will remain over the next years and years and years. And that's very important here in Luxembourg. The political stability we have, and that will always focus on main domains such as space resources. So thank you very much for everybody who is joining us here in Luxembourg and also online. I wish you fruitful exchange over the next days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Dellis. I'll just put the microphones down a little bit. You're very tall. And next, our host. It is Kathryn Hadler. She's the Director of the European Space Resources Innovation Centre here in Luxembourg, ESRIC. Kathryn.
Good morning. Thank you and welcome. On behalf of the organisers, Luxembourg Space Agency, the European Space Agency, Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology, and of course ESRIC, the European Space Resources Innovation Centre, I would like to welcome you all to Space Resources Week 2025. We've got a packed programme ahead for the next 3 days, and it's wonderful to see so many of you here today. So I know it's Monday morning, but we're going to start with some numbers. As an engineer, I always like to start with numbers anyway. As of Thursday, we had 420 people registered to be here in person. So I know that today we are over 420 people here, including many more online. We're supported by 19 sponsors, and I would like to thank them very much for their support. In the next 3 days, you have the opportunity to hear 92 talks, 22 business pitches, 5 panel discussions. We have 45 posters and our new tech demo area, which is just outside this room on the other side. The people that you see around you are our usual mix of people. So we have representatives from research and academia, making up 43% of our participants. Industry, from established companies to startups with big ideas. We are represented by our colleagues from space agencies, from many national space agencies and also ESA, and you will hear from all of them this morning. Now, we don't just throw this program together. We sent out a call for abstracts and so on, and we received over 200 proposals for talks, business pitches, and tech demos. These were all carefully screened by our scientific committee and other technical experts, and I would like to thank our scientific committee for their time in reviewing these abstracts and proposals and allowing us to put together what I hope you will agree is a fantastic program. And lastly, we had 25 brave persons, brave souls, who took part in our professional course. So this was on Friday and Saturday. It was taught, as always, by the tireless and always enthusiastic Angel Abud-Madrid of Colorado School of Mines. And so these people are now experts. So please do feel free to test them on their new knowledge. Once again, I would like to thank our sponsors that you can see on the screen. You will find the booths and the tables outside, so please do drop by and talk to those people. Now, this is the point at which I would normally give you an update on ESRIC, on what we have been doing and what's new and so on. But now that we approach our 5th birthday, actually, there's too much to talk about. I have only 5 minutes. Lisa will chase me off the stage if I go over 5 minutes. So what I can tell you is that we continue to grow. We're now a team of 30 people. We continue to work in our 3 pillars. So we continue to work in research, and this includes research infrastructure that is there for you, the community, to use. We continue to provide support for commercial activities in this domain, and we continue to develop our community activities such as this, Space Resources Week. If you want to find out more detail about what we're doing at the moment, then you will see on the screen the talks that the team have and the posters. So do drop by and see what we've been up to in the last year or so. The other thing you can do is talk to the team. We are all here. There are many of us. So please do find these people and talk to them. They will be happy to give you more details on what we're doing at ESRIC, even the ones that are new. But finally, my final point, every year we come together and we talk about the latest advances in space resources. And what makes this community so special is that we are united by a common goal. For fans of Eurovision Song Contest, of which I am one, will know that this was on over the weekend. And the slogan of the Eurovision Song Contest is United by Music. Here in Space Resources, we are united by a common goal. And that's to see a future that is enabled by space resources. Over the next 3 days, you'll hear talks from agencies, from people with missions and future missions, from researchers, from business pitchers, and from legal experts. We cover everything from prospecting to products, from recent activities in the UN to businesses with really exciting startup ideas. But whatever your motivation, we are here because we would like to see the things that we are doing, these discussions, the technology, these activities become a reality. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to listening and learning and continuing those discussions. So welcome, thank you very much, and back to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. And next up, we have Marc, who is CEO of the Luxembourg Space Agency.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning to all of you. And as usual, when you are here in front of the public, you can't see anything because you're completely blinded by the people, by the lights. But I know that, as Kathryn just said, this is a community that is growing every year, and we are very happy with this very good trend over the years, where more and more people come together to talk about this future of space resources. And this gives me the opportunity to sort of highlight even more, re-emphasize how important cooperation is in this particular domain. And thank again also the ones who traveled to Luxembourg to be here with us today. So the new Korean Space Agency, as well as the Canadian Space Agency. And you will see also some messages from others who couldn't join us today, but showing that they are sort of course, regretting not being with us today. So as you can certainly see or hear, I forgot one very important partner of us. So one particular thank to the European Space Agency. I think the European Space Agency has been, for us, a very important partner. And we are in a very special year, in 2025, for the European Space Agency, but at the same time also for Luxembourg. ESA is celebrating its 50 years of existence this year, and Luxembourg is celebrating its 20 years membership in the European Space Agency. And as I said, being member of the European Space Agency has really enabled a lot of actions and achievements in Luxembourg. It has been really instrumental for the development of our ecosystem here in Luxembourg. Just to give you, I'm an engineer as well, Kathryn, so I will give numbers. In 2005, when we joined ESA, we had about a dozen of companies active in this domain here in Luxembourg. Now we have a space directory that contains about 80, so 80, private and public entities active in the space domain here in Luxembourg. So this is a significant increase of activities here in Luxembourg. We have really developed a very diverse and dynamic ecosystem here in Luxembourg. And of course, ESA has helped us on the national level, but ESA, I would say, has a role that goes much beyond that. For us, ESA is the framework here in Europe to cooperate and also to cooperate on the international level. The third element that is important for both organizations, if I may say, is the organization of the Ministerial Council of ESA this year. So as many of you know, this is a very important event for the European community, where we will, of course, talk about new initiatives to be taken, new investments to be done, But at the same time, I think the minister highlighted that as well, in the current geopolitical situation, it's also the opportunity for Europe to reinforce its position in the space domain. So we will celebrate these anniversaries here in Luxembourg as well. So there will be several events around Europe, but there will be one in Luxembourg as well on the 5th of June. And I encourage you to follow us on our social media and on our website. There will be more announcements on that in the coming days. So, and then I go to ESRIC. I think we should also congratulate ESRIC, not only for the organization of this event, but for the achievement that ESRIC has been able to sort of materialize over the last years. Unfortunately, Kathryn, you haven't given an update, but I can tell you that this is also an organization that has been developing fast and very successfully, and of course I encourage you very strongly to exchange with the team of ESRIC today. ESRIC is also a very important element of our Space Resources.lu initiative. As the minister said, we started this in 2016, and really a lot happened over these 9 years. We haven't really seen these 9 years passing, and I can tell you, and I hope you will see it also through the panels and the different sessions, that so many things have advanced on technological level, on regulatory level, on business level as well. And even though this is a long-term topic, it's not that the markets are mature yet. The accelerator that has been set up in ESRIC is very successful and has already supported a lot of companies. So I will just finish by our celebration of the 5th of June, because this is coinciding with the landing of the iSpace M2 lander on the moon. On this mission, we have also a rover that has been developed here in Luxembourg. So this is an extraordinary mission for us. On the 5th of June, the people participating will experience the live landing of this mission. And you know, this is a first from different perspectives. It's a first for Luxembourg. It's a first for Europe. It's a first use of our regulatory framework that we have put in place for space resources. It's the first commercial transaction on the moon. It's the first prospection of resources demonstration mission. So this is a very, very exciting mission. So I encourage you also to follow that because this will be a historical moment for Luxembourg and the world. Thank you very much, and have a nice conference.
Thank you very much, Marc. And now we have Bernhard Hufenbach, who is from ESA ESTEC. He is the lead of commercialization and innovation team there.
Good morning to you all. I will try to do what Kathryn did not do. I try to give an overview of all the things ESA has been doing in the field of space resources. Actually, ESA started to invest in space resource-related R&D in 2019. And the same year, we concluded a partnership with Luxembourg. And it's really fair to say that the majority of all what we're doing today in space resource, we do in partnership with Luxembourg. And Luxembourg is really the center of excellence in Europe for space resources. And in particular, the European Space Resource Innovation Center. We will hear a lot about the center in the coming 3 days. It's a busy to read chart, but I thought I'd start with giving a very high-level overview about the international strategic and programmatic context, which is very fluent at the moment. But this chart I've taken out of the Global Space Exploration Roadmap, which is regularly published by the International Space Exploration Coordination Group. And you see that we're currently in a phase 1, robotic missions preparing for boots on the moon. ISRO, for the first time, is mentioned in the next phase, expanding and building, and that's about demonstrating ISRO capabilities. And application will only start on the moon when we prepare for sustained human presence. When you look at the ESA strategy for space exploration, called Explore 2040, ISRU, or space resources, is mentioned as an opportunity for European excellence. In our long-term planning, we prepare to fund demonstrators beyond 28, but we're currently investing in particular in preparatory activities. And looking at this chart, my key question would be, which are the ISU demonstrators which will unlock European excellence and prepare application in phase 3? And hence, what kind of preparatory activities we need to perform now to enable these demonstrators to happen beyond 2028 in situ on the moon? Our initiative on space resources is very well structured. We have 3 goals and 6 pillars. The goal is to develop and de-risk technologies, to stimulate the creation of a space resources-enabled market, so that's all about commercialization, and to nurture the growth of a community. The first pillar is about investing in ground-based research equipment. That's where most of our funding goes today. We run every 2 to 3 years a Space Resource Challenge. We support community events. This is the event to be. I think it's the most significant international event in the field of space resources today. We're preparing for in-situ demonstrators. We do a lot of prospecting and data modeling, and then we have the commercialization pillar, which includes business incubation, acceleration, and in future also business modeling. I mentioned that the ground-based research facilities is our core activity today. These facilities will help us to de-risk future in-situ demonstrators. We have 3 major elements today: the dusty thermal vacuum chamber, which allows us to simulate the lunar environment and de-risk technologies. We have what is called the ISRU lab, which is a facility which helps us to optimize a process which is aimed at extracting oxygen and metallic powders from regolith. You will hear a lot about this in the technical presentations. And we also want to develop a ground-based pilot plant at a scale which enables to simulate the end-to-end performance of this process and also learn about long-term maintenance and operational requirements. The vacuum chamber is ready. It will be stored for 1 year and then moved to ESRIC in a new building, and it will be operational end of next year. ISRU lab is also ready in terms of all the equipment. We will ship it in the coming weeks to ESRIC, assemble it, commission it, and then that can be used in the second half of this year. The ground-based pilot plant we will have before the end of the decade. We're still in the feasibility phase for this one. Prospecting is a key topic for us as well. We are investing in 3 areas. We develop payloads to fly on partner missions and international missions to create data. A very known one is Prospect, which will fly 2027 with intuitive machine to the moon to search for polar volatiles or assess them, and also to demonstrate some extraction of oxygen from lunar regolith. We also procure data more and more in future, so we're not just developing hardware, we want to procure data from commercial providers. And we have just started to invest in the development of a space resource reference model, which will contain all information about what resources exist, where, and what are their properties. A flagship initiative of us is the Space Resource Challenge. We run that every 2 to 3 years. Basically, this is different from classical procurements. We don't give a contract to a winning proposal. We give a contract to the team which performs best in the field test. The first one was focusing on prospecting, was won by a Swiss team led by ETH Zurich. The second one has just been initiated, it's running. We have selected 8 teams which will compete in October of this year in Luna, a new facility built in close to the European Astronaut Center for price. And this year's challenge is focused on excavation and mining. Everything about commercialization on this slide. We do 3 things with ESRIC. We have a fantastic incubation program. 5 calls have been issued, 26 startups have been supported in phase 1, and 6 startups have been supported in phase 2 during a residence phase. We have established a Space Resource Accelerator. For the first time, we selected now 6 companies which we will help to demonstrate the technology on ground. And also very new, we want to invest in business modeling to understand the commercial viability of certain services. And we will develop this model with researchers with the support of PhD and postdoc students. We are just in the process of selecting the first 3 research projects. Very short, the goal of ESA is to be application-driven. And that's very important. So we will start developing this year an application roadmap, which will be aligned with our strategy, with our roadmap. We'll see community engagement to develop this roadmap, and I hope we can share early outcomes of this assessment at the next Space Resource Week. And finally, there is an opportunity coming up. We will issue soon a call for evidence to find regions of scientific and operational interest for European lunar exploration infrastructures. This thing also includes ISRU. You can find more information when you scan the QR code, or you can try to find James Carpenter, who should be here. We can tell you all about this. That was a very fast pace through the ESA program. Listen to all the presentation we have. You can learn many more details in the next 3 days about the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernhard, and James Carpenter will be leading some of the sessions over the coming days as well, so you'll certainly get to know him. Next, it's an honor to invite to the stage Aarti Holla-Maini, who is the Director for UNOSA, the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs.
Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, it's a great pleasure for me to be here again. It's my second time here at Space Resources Week, and I'm very grateful to the government of Luxembourg for inviting me to join them once again. This annual event is becoming more and relevant as every year goes by. 7 years ago when it started, at that time, lunar mining and utilizing space resources was still a somewhat distant idea. But with every year that passes, the reality of what we can and what we might do with space resources is coming closer and closer. Whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not, we have to acknowledge that the rising interest in space resources is not speculative. It is grounded in compelling strategic, economic, technological, and environmental rationales. By looking at space resources, we lower our reliance on Earth's resources, which are growing scarcer, which are leading to environmental degradation, and are subject to increasing geopolitical tensions. By pushing technological frontiers using robotics, AI, prospecting technologies, and reusable launch vehicles, we create potentially lucrative opportunities in space mining, in ISRU, in off-Earth manufacturing that attract private investment and create high-skilled jobs for STEM. The barriers to space resource missions continue to decrease, and as activities accelerate, there is a growing need for international cooperation and legal clarity to ensure that these resources are used sustainably, equitably, and peacefully. How many times have I heard that the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 is too old and out of date? I can tell you many, many times people continue to say this. Yet, at the same time, it is cited by every member state over and over again, and space lawyers, of course, it's their favorite treaty, precisely because of the acceleration in space activities, like space resource activities. So all of these treaties, which were created so long ago, before many of us were born, they are now coming to life in a way that they were never called upon to do so in the past. And I think we have to thank God that we actually have the wisdom of previous generations embodied in this treaty. It is now, however, our collective responsibility, the responsibility of this generation here and now, to ensure that we rise to the challenge placed upon us for the sake of future generations to come. Of course, it's not just down to the actors involved in these activities to be responsible. Responsibility lies first and foremost with governance and on governments. Under the right framework, space resource activities can enable a new era of prosperous and sustainable space exploration. But if we get it wrong, or worse still, and this is my bigger fear, if we fail to deliver at all, then they have the potential to destabilize the peaceful and cooperative use of space that we still have today. So this really is absolutely paramount that we ensure this. I lead UNOSA, the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and we are secretariat to COPUS, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. That's the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. 60 years ago, COPUS was responsible for delivering the 5 international treaties that today are the cornerstone of the global space economy. But now, COPUS's mission has to evolve. It requires interpreting those treaties and operationalizing their provisions so that they can effectively be applied to space resource activities. 2 initiatives of direct relevance are currently underway within COPUS. Firstly, the working group on the legal aspects of resource activities, of space resources, has started developing a set of initial recommended principles to govern the conduct of these resource activities. You can find these principles online. They touch upon key issues, all the way from ensuring safety and sustainability to balancing a wide range of potentially conflicting interests. While member states are the decision makers on the principles, I do encourage all actors to look at the principles and to consider how they might impact your plans and to share your view with governments. There will never be a better time to do so than today. Secondly, the Action Team on Lunar Activities Consultation is working to develop procedures and potentially an international mechanism for consultation and coordination of lunar activities. This work is essential. In the largely unknown and inherently hostile lunar environment, it can provide a solid foundation to anticipate potential risks and conflicts, and so to ensure that we respond through dialogue and not through reaction. Ladies and gentlemen, I often hear that industry, the major actors and the drivers of space activities don't have a voice in space governance. They don't have a seat at the table when COPUS convenes. Now, I joined the UN relatively recently. It's 1 year and 8 months now. And I understand very, very well the industry's perspective. That was my background. But having now seen it firsthand, I can tell you that there is a lot to be said for a member state-driven process. And invite you, industry, to trust me on this. COPUS decisions are taken by consensus. Yes, it might be slow, but it ensures trust, and it ensures the buy-in of all states, and that is fundamental if we want to ensure maximum cooperation by all parties. But nonetheless, the mechanism is not worth much if it exists in a vacuum. Member states' deliberations must be informed by industry to ensure that the governance frameworks that they develop are fit for purpose and that they provide the clarity and certainty that industry needs to plan, to invest, and to act responsibly. Let me give you one example of why your work here matters and how it can relate to COPUS deliberations in Vienna. Right now, there is no certainty that resources on the moon exist in the concentration and distribution required for them to be mined. Tomorrow, you will hear about an international lunar resource prospecting campaign that aims to address precisely this topic, understanding whether lunar resources can be qualified as reserves in accordance with established standards in the mining sector. The outcome of this campaign can have a crucial impact on the work of COPUS, ensuring that its deliberations will be useful and, most importantly, future-proof. Both the working group and the action team are set to complete their work by 2027, when COPUS plans to hold a 4th Unispace conference. These ministerial-level events happen only every 25 years, so they're a real opportunity. They are a moment to demonstrate renewed commitment to multilateralism, and they should deliver concrete results on key topics that matter. Time flies, and we have none to lose. The road to 2027 is probably shorter than we think, and we have a lot to accomplish by then. In anticipation of this event, and in order to support the work of the committee, UNOSA has launched a program called One Moon for All. This program is designed to advance practical discussions and promote policy-oriented solutions which support global coordination and inclusive governance of lunar activities, which ensures also that the voice of industry will be heard. Last year, we organized the first ever United Nations Conference on Sustainable Lunar Activities, and this year, we will be convening lunar industry actors in a forum to inform the work of the committee and also to inform industry of the action team's work plan. All of these efforts, legal, policy, and practical, are anchored in our broader mission to support countries around the world in developing robust national space governance. Through our Global Space Law project, we are assisting emerging spacefaring nations in drafting national space law and policy to provide legal and regulatory certainty as a basis not only for safety and sustainability, but also for future investment. I see the diversity in this room: seasoned policymakers, experienced engineers, commercial visionaries, and of course, space lawyers. We can't escape them. And more. We need this diversity of experience and knowledge to find solutions, to challenge assumptions, and I say that with purpose. There are a lot of assumptions made which are not necessarily informed. We must challenge them. And to ensure that space governance lands where it should. The future of space resource activities will not be written only by one actor. It will be co-authored, and it should not be defined by short-term gain, but by a long-term vision grounded in cooperation and in sustainability. So I thank you once again for having me with you, and I hope that you have a productive and inspiring week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Aarti. Thank you very much to Aarti. And now we have a video message from JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hiroshi Yamakawa, JAXA President. First, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Marc, CEO of Luxembourg Space Agency, for inviting me to send a video message for this event. I understand that this year's Space Resources Week will focus on discussions regarding the actions for the next 5 years and near-term priorities that will enable the realization of space resource utilization. In order to further develop the exploration and utilization of space resources, I believe that it is important to realize sustainable space exploration activities. To this end, not only technological development, but also diverse collaboration with the private sector and international partners are essential. To contribute to the discussion during Space Resources Week, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Japan and JAXA's efforts in this area. In my video message to last year's Space Resources Week, I introduced the successful moon landing of the Japanese probe SLIM. JAXA continues to actively promote space exploration activities with plans to launch LUPEX together with India, which will investigate the quantity and quality of water at the lunar poles, and MMX, which aims for the world's first sample return from the Martian moon Phobos after 2026. JAXA and NASA are also conducting research on the asteroid samples brought back by the two agencies, and some of the asteroid samples are being showcased at the World Expo currently being held in Japan, Osaka. In recent years, space exploration activities by private companies have made remarkable progress. One such company is iSpace, a Japanese company that develops lunar exploration capabilities not only in Japan but also here in Luxembourg. In February this year, the company successfully completed the first ever lunar flyby by a commercial lunar module, and we are very excited to witness their lunar landing planned on June the 6th. In addition to iSpace, there are many other entities in Japan that are trying to engage in space exploration. In March 2024, the Japanese government established the Space Strategy Fund at JAXA to expand support for private companies and universities. As a funding agency of this scheme, JAXA aims to support technology development by entities other than JAXA, such as private companies and universities in Japan, providing 1 trillion yen over 10 years. With regard to working with international partners, JAXA has signed a memorandum of cooperation with Luxembourg Space Agency and is discussing the opportunities of cooperation in the scope of space exploration. In addition, last year, I signed and announced a joint statement with ESA Director General Joseph Aschbacher, agreeing to discuss cooperation in the area of lunar exploration, including post-ISS, collaboration of ESA's Argonaut and JAXA's pressurized rover, use of ESA lunar facility, as well as synergizing multiple lunar robotic missions. I believe that Space Resources Week offers an invaluable opportunity to discuss various aspects of space resources development and utilization. I would like to conclude my message by thanking the European Space Resources Innovation Center, Luxembourg Space Agency, European Space Agency, and Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology for hosting the 7th Space Resources Week and for leading international discussions on space resources. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much to JAXA. And now we move across continents to Canada. Welcome the Canadian Space Agency in the form of Ernest.
Thank you, Lisa. This is amazing. The Space Resource Week is bigger and better every year. And that is an attestation to the organizers and the importance of space resources that brings us all here. As well, I wanted to mention that, every time coming to this event and coming to Europe, being here, standing in the middle of Europe, it also has special meaning to the CSA. As we know, CSA is a cooperating state of ESA, and as the distinguished speaker said earlier, we go further together. Special thanks to Luxembourg Space Agency for inviting Canadian Space Agency here, and I'm very excited to share about Canadian lunar and ISRU activities today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ernest Tan, ISRU lead with the Exploration Planning, Coordination, and Advanced Concepts team at the Canadian Space Agency. And I'd like to start on the theme of international coordination and collaboration, going along the lines of the theme that Director Aarti has brought us on. And I will briefly share about international cooperation and collaboration in the form of the ISEG, that's the coordination group, and just briefly touch on that before going into the CSA activities. Covering on a high level, admittedly I can talk for 30-40 minutes on my slides, but I won't do that. I will try to keep it brief, and with the thought that, anything on my slides that I don't get to cover, feel free to discuss on the margins of this conference. Now, the ISEG. The ISEG stands for the International Space Exploration Coordination Group. This is a non-binding, consensus-driven group that works together, and one of their flagship publications is the Global Exploration Roadmap. This is an internationally endorsed exploration architecture that is publicly released. As well, we see on the lower right some recent gap assessment reports that's been produced by the Technology Working Group, which the CSA is fortunate enough to co-chair with currently CSIRO from Australia, previously co-chairing with ESA, and previous to that, co-chairing with JAXA. So these reports, what are the objectives? So the objectives are for the benefit of a coordinated and consensus-based approach to advancing our exploration goals and closing the critical gaps. Of course, CSA is an avid supporter of the ISEG. Now, going into the content of my presentation on Canadian lunar and ISRU activities, I will be covering our two lunar rovers, some key science aspects, I'll touch on a technology development initiative, and some innovative government-enabled initiatives as well. We see in the lower, at the bottom in the gray font, two programs that are the Health Beyond program and the Food Production program. I will not be talking in detail about these, only to say that not only do these programs have potential capabilities for future deep space missions, but have also been able to create significant socioeconomic benefits for the remote northern communities in Canada and the indigenous communities across our vast country. Example, bringing remote healthcare and growing fresh produce in these remote communities. Both these programs include elements of international collaborations, and I'll try to showcase this collaborative theme throughout my presentation. Now on to the first Canadian rover on the moon. So the generic name here is Canadian Lunar Rover. It's set to launch no earlier than 2026. And it's a small science rover loaded with science payloads, advancing lunar science and advancing our knowledge of space resources. It will drive into and operate inside of permanently shadowed regions for up to an hour and test various survive the night capabilities. And quick fun fact is that its official name will soon be announced on social media, and it was nationally voted name to be revealed soon. Next, on our Canadian utility rover, this is at the beginning stages. It will be launched no earlier than 2033. Of course, leveraging Canada's heritage in space robotics. It represents a major CSA contribution to the Artemis program, a large-size utility rover for logistics, cargo handling, transportation, pre-positioning, and such crew support tasks, including, and so all of these tasks will be supporting the crew during the 1 to 2 months of the year when the crew is up on the lunar surface. But what about the other 10, 11 months of the year when there are no crew around? So this rover will be available for surveying for ice and other resources and many other interesting operations. So the future potential is huge in terms of innovative payloads, advancing lunar science. Two examples, you can have frame-mounted payloads fixed on the rover, following the rover wherever it goes, and it has the opportunity to take measurements. But the other opportunity is larger cargo-sized payloads that will be deployable with this large rover, and this large utility rover will be able to deploy larger items such as ISRU demonstrators, such as deployable sensors, could be a fleet of seismic sensors. So there are lots of potential here for integrated solutions and future partnerships. Next, also on the utility rover, this is the work that's going on in parallel on the science objectives in terms of, so this is a international science team of exploration scientists getting together, the collective effort here to carefully identify the common objectives reflected across their respective national strategies and plans, and coming together to ensure that the utility rover mission prioritizes the most important science. And I can point to James Carpenter and others in the room who have participated in this effort if we would like more information. Next, one of our technology development initiatives, this is Lunar Surface Exploration Initiative. It's focused on the preparatory activities that are needed to identify the most likely next major Canadian critical infrastructure contribution for the lunar surface. Now, I can point to the success story here amongst the bulleted capability areas. The initial success story being, of course, the Canadian utility rover from the rover, robots and rover capability area. being a major lunar contribution. So next on the list with the food production module, the food production team has secured separate funding, so that is ongoing. And we are currently focused on the last 3 items, which is mining and ISRU, power generation and distribution, and avionics and communication, with a subset of the ISRU ecosystem on the right side. Now, this is my second last slide, a collage of various activities. These are Canada's activities enabling a sustained human presence. Of course, we've talked about the lunar rovers. So next, I'd like to point to the multilateral space policy and regulatory engagement that is led by the CSA's policy team and international relations team, and supported by our exploration planning team. And these are very important discussions at the UN COPUS level. As Director Aarti has explained to us, there's the ATLAC, the Action Team on Lunar Activities Coordination at the COPUS level, but there's also at the subcommittee level, the legal subcommittee, there's the working group on the space resource activities. And of course, separate discussions are also happening at Artemis Accords, for example. So these are all very important to CSA to participate and continue to progress these discussions together. In terms of the Aqua Lunar Challenge, that's a CSA-UKSA collaboration that's looking at the innovative water purification technologies that can benefit space resource utilization, but also have important socioeconomic benefits as well. Onto the second row, the new sample curation facility at the CSA. We're super excited for that. Canada is receiving a share of return samples from OSIRIS-REx in exchange for our science and technology contributions to that mission. And this will be a first of its kind in Canada, located at the CSA headquarters in Montreal. And construction has started, and it's being commissioned in approximately 1 year from now, which is also when we will receive then these samples. Next, CEMI stands for Center for Excellence in Mining Innovation. This is a study to better understand the Canadian terrestrial mining innovators and their cross-sectoral collaborations leading to innovative solutions across the entire value chain. And lastly, Moonshot for Mining, Minerals, and Manufacturing is an innovative initiative that at us in the planning team we decided to try out. Now, this is a new mechanism. Rather than having a call out to identify and award the next beneficiaries in these domains, this is a call out to find the most appropriate third party, which would then be the ones awarding the funds. So reaching out to terrestrial mining sector and non-traditional space players. So I'm low on time, so the last line, I'll just highlight that with the various technologies, sample drills and sensing drills, we're also exploring geosensing technologies and quantum sensing technologies and additive manufacturing, for example. So now, last slide, just wanted to say that in terms of collectively, so just wanted to highlight why we're collectively heading to the lunar South Pole. It's really because of the shared recognition of the criticality of ISRU for deep space exploration, and Canada is really leveraging our strengths and the alignment of our national objectives and policies there. So at the CSA, we feel strongly that the international collaboration is key to a sustained and robust exploration architecture. So let's explore together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you very much to Ernest there. Just a couple of points. Marc is very eager that I tell you he did not get the date wrong in his talk when he's inviting you all to the party here on the 5th of June. You may have, if you have his hearing ability and note for numbers and dates, JAXA mentioned the iSpace lunar lander is the 6th of June. Of course, this is due to the time in Japan compared to the time here. So we still have our party here on the 5th of June, and it lands, it's all simultaneous. Basically, everyone is correct. Kathryn mentioned her love of Eurovision. Eurovision also includes Australia. Eurovision did not, Australia did not get to the finals in Eurovision. However, we do have the 76th International Astronautical Congress, the IAC, will be held in Sydney this year, and we have a little video to entice you to go.
Moyen. Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Vitaris, Director of the 76th International Astronautical Congress, IAC 2025, at Space Industry Association of Australia. I welcome you all to join us in Sydney from the 29th of September to the 3rd of October this year. IAC 2025 Sydney is the world's premier space event, and we expect up to 10,000 attendees from between 80 to 100 countries. Whilst I couldn't be there in person with you right now, it was great to visit Luxembourg in March and see firsthand some of the amazing capability that you have there. I was also fascinated to hear about the many Luxembourgish and Australian space companies who are already working together. Since then, I've been working closely with the Luxembourg Space Agency, ANZCCL and ESRIC to help facilitate further business opportunities between our two space ecosystems. I believe there are many more to be uncovered, including within space resources, which we are both particularly strong in. And IAC 2025 provides a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to do this. Our theme is Sustainable Space, Resilient Earth, which covers space-based applications for Earth, sustainable space activities, and sustaining life beyond Earth. We had 4,100 abstracts, and we've sold around 90% of our sponsorship and exhibition space to date, including the Luxembourgish Pavilion, and we welcome you there. Two things which will make our IAC very different to all of the others is that firstly, we are focusing on the Indo-Pacific region. So you will see a part of the world that you don't normally get to see at a space event. And secondly, we are inviting space-enabled industries for the first time, including mining, oil and gas. With this, we aim to host a half-day event specifically focused on space and mining, and more details will come through on this very shortly. I hope you have a very successful Space Resources Week and hope to see you at IAC 2025 in Sydney in September. Bill Mouls, merci.
Thank you very much. And now it's a real honor to welcome to the stage for the first time John Lee from the Korean Aerospace Administration.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak to you all. I just flew in last night, and so if I sound a little jet lagged, it's probably because I'm jet lagged. Before I go through my slides, just wanted to mention to you that whatever I present today is actually available online, except it's in Korean. The English version of the strategic plan that I'm going to cover a little bit today will actually be available June 12th. The Korean version is already up on our website. It's been up since middle of February, so if you would like to look at it ahead of time without the English version, you can certainly go and run whatever AI program that you have to convert it into the language that you prefer. I just wanted to also mention to you that the Korea KASA, Korea Aerospace Agency or Administration, we'll be celebrating our first anniversary next week. May 27th will be our official date, and so it's certainly a privilege for me to give you a quick, short overview of who we are and where we're headed, and hopefully through the panel discussion you'll hear more about our plans for ISRU and some of the other areas. Today I'll be presenting the material on the space portion, but actually the KASA also covers aeronautics, which is probably not for this audience, but certainly it is another area that we're involved in. So if you want to slide your move over to the next slide. Let's see. Okay. Korea has actually a history of about 35 years of being in space. And if you notice, in 1992, Korea launched its first satellite. And as you see from the slide, that there's been a progression in 1999, our first astronaut in 2008. The Space Center was established in 2009. The third NARO launch was in 2013. 2018, 20 geosatellites, lunar orbiter in 2022, and second and third NURI launch in 2022 and 23, and we will be having our fourth launch this year in November. The basic goal of the agency, it says the third miracle, the first miracle that the Koreans consider to be its Han River a miracle. The second one is obviously the semiconductor, and of course they're now, as a government has established KASA, that they're pushing forward with the third miracle being in the aerospace sector. The purpose, again, it says the vision is to become the top 5 spacefaring nations within the next 20 years. It certainly is a lofty goal, but that's the way we want to do it. Set some lofty goals and pursue after it. And we've been at it for almost a year now. The organization is set up primarily in this sector. On the Vice Administration for Administration is on the left. What I'm responsible for are actually for the R&D activities in the four areas, 4 directorates: Space Transportation, Satellite Directorate, Space Science Exploration, and then the last one is Aeronautics. And I'll go through the first 3 of those, the directorates, very briefly, and then talk about our moon exploration as well. Space transportation strategy, basically, as I mentioned to you, this is all in our strategic plan, so the more details are outlined in that plan. But basically, the strategy is for us to move toward the affordable and reusable systems. And so we're moving toward the reusable launch vehicles, and also to enable the private sector capabilities. What we have in plan is to add another launch. I have to be careful. Launch pad to existing site, and we're also planning to create a second launch site. So enable the private sector to launch its capabilities. Expand and access to space, frequent and regular access to space. Currently, the current government has been investing primarily in the government funded projects, but we're also encouraging the private sector to get involved, and we're going smaller and many. That's the idea, so that we're going to expand into trying to expand the private sector to be involved more in the launch service. Space to space, space to Earth, particularly for the orbital transfer vehicle. That's one of our major push that we'll be investing in. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, it's going to be more market-driven and private sector-led innovation. For the satellite strategy, there are 3 areas here: national and societal missions, future satellite technology, and private capabilities. The focus will be to try to go to high-resolution EO satellites, geo-observation satellites, and satellite navigation and satellite communication. So those are the areas in which we'll be investing in. Next, also the future satellite technology. One of the areas that we will be focusing on will be the VLEO, and also to look at the multi-orbit GNSS augmentation. For the space science and exploration strategy, we are going to be, Korea has taken on as this major project to go to L4. As many of you know, that the ESA will be going to L5 with this visual mission. We'll be complementing that mission with a observatory in L4, and our goal is to launch our satellite or our observatory in 2035. We will be building the lunar landers, which will be Our goal is to land a the lander in 32. We will also be working on, and it's not clearly defined, but we'll also be building a lunar orbiter that we'll send up prior to 32. And then, of course, we're also laying out some plans for our Mars science as well. LEO Space Factory is another area for the space economy and lunar economy base, and we'll talk some more about that in the next few slides later. And then lastly here, we're going to be looking at also the asteroid exploration as well as building some deep space telescope. In terms of our exploring the moon, Mars, and beyond, as I mentioned to you, we will be targeting in 2032 to land a lander. We are currently in the process of formulating what the science and technology payloads that we'll be putting on that lander, and that will be determined by next year. Our objective is to build the pinpoint landing capability as well as to do some lunar science and technology. And then lastly here, to develop future scalable technologies as well as build international cooperation. And I think this is a very important component, and that is, I think we're in a world economy where each nation cannot do everything on its own. And so this is what I have been emphasizing within our administration, that in order for us to go forward in many of our efforts, we really need to build a lot of collaborative efforts across many spectrum, but also across many countries. And so this is one of the reasons I'm here, is to learn about what is going on here in Europe, as well as in Asia. And then, of course, I'll go to the next slide to talk about where we are with the lunar resources. This is currently what we are engaged in at KASA. The one on the left is we've already launched the KPLO in 22, and then we're going to be looking at resource identification and extraction of the surface. And then finally, on the right is the feasibility study that we're currently undertaking to see how all of these fit together. And I believe that is the last slide, and hopefully I got you back on schedule. Thank you.